This is Kyle here with another episode of the Art of Physical Fitness show, and we are broadcasting me in Cincinnati. We have Jon Goodman all the way from Hawaii. Jon, introduce yourself to everyone and tell us a little bit about yourself.
What's going on? Yeah, my name's Jon Goodman. What about myself? I started the PTDC about 4 years ago, Personal Trainer Development Center, and I've written and published 2 books now, Race to the Top, How to Take Over the Social Media Feed on Social Media Theory, and Ignite the Fire, The Secrets to Becoming a Successful Personal Trainer. Beyond that, I'm just living the life out here in Hawaii, working hard, developing a whole whack of different websites.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to this interview because it's going to be a change of pace from what we normally talk about on the show. All the guests usually we're talking about, specific training methodologies, nutrition, dieting, stuff like this. But today we're going to more so delve into the business side for personal trainers, a more direct message to them. So let's just first, before we get into all that, tell us your story before you got into where you are now, as far as your adventures.
Sure, I'll keep it succinct because I don't want to bore people. I was a personal trainer for 9 years. I started off about 2 weeks after I turned 18, I became certified and started working at the university gym at the University of Western Ontario in Canada. And for those of you who don't know, University of Western Ontario is sort of become the hub. Its precision nutrition was born out of it. My nutrition professor was sort of John Berardi's guru, and he was actually a great mentor to myself as well, and helped me learn research and kind of took me under his wing, and I spoke at his event a while back as well. So I had just a great experience at Western, and then went and started training full-time, and by the time I was 24 years old, started managing, took over a team of trainers, and kind of sat there at loose ends thinking, what's next? I was charging $100 an hour training, I was full of clients, I was making money referring clients to other people, I was making a bit of a salary as well, managing trainers, and I was like, well, I'm 24 years old, and I've reached, quote unquote, what the top of sort of a personal trainer, at least where I was in Toronto, would make. The difference between charging $100 and $120 isn't really that significant, and I didn't want to work more. So I started looking at ways to develop passive income streams, and this was about a 1.5 year long journey where I just read a lot of books and wasted a lot of time building really crappy business proposals. And I ended up reading a book that laid out a term called infopreneuring. I was like, well, I can write a book. That's kind of cool. And what I wrote down that night, and I still remember it because I still have it, it was November 9th, 2010. No, November 9th, 2009 is when it was. And I still have the actual document that I wrote out of my entire idea of what I was going to do. And it was this insanely grandiose idea of everything from writing a book to kind of act as the base, and from that building a big website, building a big network, putting on conferences, developing online materials for sale, building up a big network. And I can proudly say that right now I've actually followed through every single one of those points except for one. And that one point was selling and renting my email list. And that's just something that I've decided not to do because I don't think anybody should do that. From there, I just went deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole of training and of social media, and became obsessed with the psychology of the end user on social media and social media theory, which I think you want to chat about later on today as well. And have now actually, I guess, retired, quit from personal training grudgingly. I didn't ever plan to, I didn't ever want to, but have taken a step back from it to develop the PTDC more and develop a big coaching program as well to help a lot of other trainers build their businesses online.
Okay. With that succinct introduction, let's go right into kind of introductory personal training for anyone who is a personal trainer watching this in the low barrier to entry into personal training. What do you make of that, where there's a bunch of weekend certification type deals, and perhaps anyone could become a personal trainer at the snap of a finger, it seems?
Yeah, it is what it is. There's a responsibility of the industry and of the media to at least alert the general public that that's the case. I think, to me, that's the only problem. The fact that it's a low barrier to entry, the fact that people, once they do a certification, are not actually ready to train people, it's like that in any job. Somebody who finishes business school is not ready to jump in and work at a company full-time, but they do, and they learn on the job. And they learn the specifics of the job specific to what they do. Like, I've got a good friend who works for Kraft Canada, and he works in their packaging and sales department. Well, he went to business school and knows nothing about Kraft, knows nothing about the type of business he did, but he understands the basics and he has a baseline built and he's mentored and he's taught on the job specific to the job that he's doing. And personal training is very much the same way. Even if you do a certification, you're not going to become skilled enough to train a 65-year-old woman with arthritic knees, but you get a 65-year-old woman with arthritic knees, it's your mentor or manager or coach's responsibility to help kind of show you the way, but it's absolutely your responsibility to educate yourself as well. And I think that the new breed of trainers coming out are really understanding that. They're kind of a different breed. They're in this for the long term, for the most part, and they're going out and doing their own research. So, I don't really see an issue with it. I think the only issue is the general public really doesn't know what the difference is between a trainer who's done years of education and does all of these top-level seminars and conferences and somebody who just does, an everyday weekend cert and then calls himself a trainer and does what they're doing.
Now, do you think it's important, I guess you can look at it from just the personal development of the trainer perspective, but also their business. Do you think it's important to right away get into niching a certain market, or start off in a broad, general sense, getting a whole host of ideas on different training methodologies, so that when they do niche, if they are going to niche, everything could be a little more educated, if you will, that it's explained properly?
It's a good question. It's funny, whenever anybody writes a book, and Joe Dowdell told me this a long time ago when I was first putting out Ignite the Fire, and I still remember it, as he said, there's a reason they make version 2.0s, because I wrote Ignite the Fire, and in Ignite the Fire I talk about the importance of finding your niche. And the reality of it is, I kind of disagree with that, or at least I veered off of that a little bit. I think that a niche is a very powerful tool to allow you to become an expert. And once you become an expert, you can then become the center of information. An expert's knowledge doesn't come from knowing, it comes from knowing where to find. So the only way to really become an expert is to become an expert in one area. And, Brett Contreras is a perfect example of that, the glute guy. Mike Robertson did it with knees, Eric Cressy did it with shoulders. Well, these guys talk about anything now. But would they be in the position to talk about anything if they didn't actually develop their expert status through their niche? And, I'm kind of the same way. Well, I built myself as kind of the trainers who train trainers away from the exercise instruction side. And, I get questions on how to make legs look better in a photo shoot. Well, I know nothing about that.
Right.
But once I became the expert in, I guess, personal training, I'm all of a sudden the expert in everything pertaining to fitness. So I think that the niche is a powerful tool for becoming the expert. What I do believe is that when a trainer starts, they have absolutely no clue in what they want to do. So I think that it's the trainer's responsibility to see clients from as many different walks of life as possible for at least a year, if not 2 or 3 or 4 years. And I usually recommend that new trainers work in a big box gym just to get experience. You may not align with their values. Yes, you might not get treated that fairly. You're going to work a lot for probably not that much pay, but it's like any other job when you start out. You're doing it for the experience. You're doing it to find your mentors. You're doing it to get better. And then what will happen is the trainer might find that they're interested and fascinated by certain aspects of training that they never thought they cared about.
Right.
I always thought that I wanted to be an athletic trainer. I had opportunities to train AHL affiliate hockey teams and work with NHL teams at one point as well. And I just didn't really care. I trained a couple kids up for the NHL draft. They got drafted, and then they went away. It's like, well, that kind of sucked. And then I, for some reason, started reading about low back rehab and became obsessed with it. And my reputation in my niche, I guess, became the guy who helped average Joes and Janes fix their low back. And this was something that I never expected. And the only reason that I was able to develop it and figure it out was because I just tried everything and recognized what I resonated towards after a period of time that was, for me, about 4 or 5 years. So I think it's important for a trainer to get a very wide scope of knowledge. And as they find themselves interested in certain types of training, whatever that is, follow it. Work hard to find mentors, work hard to find people who are doing that already, who have put out materials on that, and just become a lifetime student. and sort of streamline your education towards that one part.
Okay. Now, since we're on the topic of people just getting into personal training as a career, from a day-to-day perspective, it's often seen as a day-to-day perspective money-wise. It's not a high-paying job. How does a trainer get past that? Because it certainly can if they know what they're doing, but how does someone who is completely oblivious to how to get past the day-to-day survival monetarily and get into more prosperity, if you will?
Right, and there's a number of different ways. I mean, yes, training is day-to-day, and even if you're training groups, you're still trading your time directly for money. And um, there's the obvious, which is, you know, recommending things like supplements to your clients. If your clients are going to buy supplements anyway, and there's a company you believe in, you can recommend it to your client. Personally, I've never done that because I've never really used supplements that much. So, I mean, I've turned down, probably at this point, easily 6 figures by not referring supplements to trainers and to clients. But if they want to do that, those opportunities are there. The same thing for fitness equipment. You can usually go to a fitness store and arrange, if they don't already have a program, some sort of a 10 or 15% commission. Send your client there to buy a treadmill, you get $500. Usually you can do something like that. And if your clients are going to buy the equipment anyway and it's your referral, yeah, you absolutely should get some money from that. But probably the most powerful way is online. And, you know, this is one of the reasons why I'm building this coaching program that I'm building right now that'll be out in a couple weeks, is because there's such an opportunity to train clients online now and to scale your efforts in training clients online. You know, I know people who train 200 or 300 people at $150 a month pop. And they're doing this in about 3 days a week. So you can imagine just a trainer who decides that they want to take on maybe 20 clients at $150 a month. It takes them, you know, 2 hours a night, if even that, and they can write their workouts. And to do that, you have to set up some systems, and the systems are getting easier and easier as there's better software. But I think online training is huge. There's a big push for trainers to try to develop informational products, you know, like write an ebook and you make money from it for life. The fact is, unless you bust your ass developing a blog and developing just a massive network, over the course of years, you're probably not going to make much for that ebook. And for a written book, you're definitely not going to make that much. But it can all go into your online training. And your online training is, and online coaching and stuff like that is where I think there's a big opportunity for personal trainers to really scale their efforts and make the money that they deserve to make if they're good at their job.
Okay, awesome. So let's get into the fun stuff for trainers. How do you your top 5 ideas for getting clients? Actionable ideas, not theoretical. Trying to be
5.
Yeah.
You're asking me 5 ways to get
I'm
clients.
demanding. I'm so demanding.
Holy shit, 5 ways. Okay, I love finding the mavens in the neighborhood, and I've written about this over and over and over again. The mavens is described by Malcolm Gladwell, people who just are respected and have a lot of connections to the neighborhood. And I discovered that there are a lot of kind of secret mavens that a lot of people don't know. For example, coffee shop baristas, hairdressers are fantastic. Pretty much anybody who has a lot of foot traffic going through where people happen to sit for 5 or 10 or 20 minutes at a time, and they'll kind of read whatever they're reading. So you find these people and you build a relationship with them, and you leave value-packed materials. So write, let's say, a 1-page article on whatever your target population suffers from, you know, low back pain, fat loss, pick your poison. Have a little bit of contact information at the bottom of it. You can have a tracking number at the top, and you can give a stack of 20 of them or 50 of them to the coffee shop barista, have them put a note in the coffee shop, and they'll present them for you. And then anytime anybody comes in from that coffee shop and buys a package, you give a percentage to the barista. You can do the same thing with hairdressers. You can do the same thing with spas. You can do the same thing really with anybody who's in your target population. That's one. Charity, things like charity boot camps and stuff like that, if you group train clients, is fantastic. You know, every Saturday or every Sunday at kind of a dead time, let's say it's 11 to 12 a.m., you do a charity boot camp where you take on 15 or 20 or 30 people at a time. You go in the park, you go in your facility. Everybody donates a minimum of $10, but whatever they want to donate to a charity. You go to a whole bunch of local merchants. You get them to donate things like coffee and snacks and whatever it is. You have music blasting. You have an awesome time. You support the community. You get a whole bunch of people that you would never otherwise get. And if you really want to take that system to another level, you can write a press release. and probably get featured in local media as well. YouTube videos are fantastic. And the reason why I say YouTube videos are fantastic is because you're probably not going to get very many views, but you can SEO the crap out of YouTube videos very easily. And if you're a personal trainer in a relatively small town, this would probably be the only thing you need to do. I mean, film a video with a handy cam, have you talking for a minute about a fat loss tip, or have you demonstrating an exercise. Do this 4 times a week, upload it to your YouTube channel, and you tag your video with wherever you're from. So, you know, Maui personal trainer talks about fat loss. And then in the actual description of the YouTube video, because the descriptions are actually the entire description of the YouTube video is indexed by Google. So, again, and there's some documents I've written on this, and this is something that I'm going to be using in my case study in my coaching program quite a bit, but you could actually find keywords that are chosen in Google for, you know, fat loss. So it might be fat loss for mothers, like essentially what people are searching for in YouTube. And you can just chock your descriptions full of keywords. And then what Google will do is they'll find out the IP address that somebody's searching from. Let's say they're searching for Maui and they search for fat loss. Well, Maui personal trainer talks about fat loss would come up first. And you embed that in your site and have a link back to your site, which is either your site or your landing page or whatever it is. And you can gain clients that way. A fourth is to get into more local media if you're looking for personal training clients. You don't really need to be in like Men's Health, but you can, with a couple, I call this the diamond in the rough system, and with a couple of very sort of dedicated research days, I mean, find your local newspapers, find your local magazines and things like that, and sift through them and figure out who the reporters are and who the editors are on whatever topic you want to write about. Search for these people's tags on Twitter, add them on Twitter, and start responding back and forth to their tweets. Like, it's really that easy. Because these are generally minor editors, you know, like Maui Health and Lifestyle magazine editor focusing on fitness will be like their Twitter tag, and they've got 120 followers. And so you add them on Twitter, you follow them on Twitter, you respond back to their tweets. In your bio on Twitter, it of course says, Maui personal trainer, you know, read my blog, find more about me here. They will go back to your website probably without you even knowing, and all of a sudden you become the quoted person in your local newspaper for fitness. And that can then snowball into TV appearances, larger media appearances, stuff like that, if you want that to happen. What was that, 4?
Yeah.
We need one more. I mean, referrals. It's the easiest thing in the world to do. Most people screw it up. You have a client that you love. You have a client that loves you. Ask them for a referral, but asking them for a referral isn't enough, because we all know as personal trainers, you ask a client for the referral. They might say yes, they might say no, and then you never hear from them again. So you can say the best way, and I've given some scripts on the PTDC, but just say to the client, say, you know, Kyle, are you enjoying training with me? You know, if you had a benefit. And of course, you're going to say yes, because it would be rude not to. So, you know, I have a couple clients who have gone away for extended vacations. I have a couple spots open up. You know, I specialize in whatever things that you know that everybody knows somebody who suffers from: low back pain, knee pain, fat loss, whatever. I specialize in fat loss, low back pain, knee pain. Do you know anybody who suffers from any of those things? Do you know anybody who would like help or like information on any of those things? And they'll mention a name. And you say, okay, yeah, do you mind getting them to contact me? And they'll, of course, say yes, and then you'll never hear from them again. And it becomes awkward following up with that client, because you can't actually say to them, oh, by the way, you know, Kyle, you told me you were going to send me your friend. What happened? It's kind of awkward, and you don't want to ruin the relationship. But that night after you've asked for the referral, you know that they have a friend, whoever it is, Kim, who suffers from low back pain. Well, email them an article that you wrote about low back pain and ask them to forward it to their friend. And all of a sudden, it gives them a reminder. Doesn't make them feel awkward about forgetting, and it allows them to add value to the relationship with their friend. And then that friend will then start asking you questions about low back pain and eventually come in and want to train with you. So there's 5.
That's gold right there. I'll push that referral. I
Yeah.
love that idea of like following up with the email or giving the client tool to give to their friend that they want to refer in.
Mhm.
Let's go into how to stand out from the crowd as a personal trainer, being that personal trainers, like we talked about, so low barrier to entry. There are so many personal trainers. How do you differentiate yourself?
It I mean, where are you located, first off? Like, are you in a town like New York City? It becomes a lot more difficult than if you're in a small town and there's sort of one gym. But how do you stand out is you just become the most popular person in the gym. I mean, people buy trainers, they don't buy training. So if you become very popular, if you become kind of the guy for fitness knowledge, you know, everybody wants to know a guy. It's like, you need a plumber, I got a guy for that. And everybody wants to show off that they know the guy. So when it comes to personal training, if you become the most popular person in the gym, you learn everybody's name. When you walk down the street in your neighborhood, you wave hi to people in the stores, you shake the hand of random people on the street. I mean, that kind of stuff is noticed. And people want to train with the popular trainer. Clients really have no clue whether the workouts that you're building are good or not. They can tell whether somebody's working hard, they can tell whether somebody might be looking like they're enjoying themselves, but the reality of it is people choose trainers based on popularity more than they choose trainers based on, how good of a job over the long term their clients get. So become popular, learn everybody by name, uh, make your clients the most popular people in the gym. So when you're training your client, introduce them to other members, introduce them to the other trainers. Because your clients then are going to want to bring, your clients want to show off their popularity. So they're going to be more prone to bringing their friends into the gym. Not necessarily because they think that you're the best trainer. I mean, obviously they think that you're good, but more than anything else, because they want to show off to their friends that they're popular in this gym. They want to walk in with their friend. I call this the cheers effect. They want to walk in with their friend to the gym, and they want everybody to wave hi and say their name and say hello and feel like the shit.
Right. That goes into, I know I've read one of your blog posts where you talk about creating an experience more so than, is more important than creating just the workouts from that perspective.
Huge.
Awesome. One last question I wanted to delve on before we get into the social media aspect is if a trainer control this aspect, I mean, if they're working in a big box gym, they don't necessarily do. But if they do, maybe they own their own place or what have you, or they're independent. Would you recommend selling packages of sessions or kind of the newer trend, I would think, of membership?
Again, this is something that's changed quite a bit in my eyes as I've seen and spoken to a lot of trainers from a lot of different walks of life. My whole life training, to preface this, I sold packages. So I sold packages of anywhere from 1 to 20 sessions, 20 sessions, 50 sessions. And of course, the 50 sessions had a big discount, the 20 sessions had a discount, and 1 to 20 was all the same price. I've studied a lot about pricing theory and behavioral economics since then, and my viewpoints have actually changed. I believe that you should actually sell, you can still sell kind of a one-off session, I guess, if you want, although I don't think that it's necessarily a good idea. I think that what you should sell is programs. So understand your target population, and if your target population is, let's say, 25 to 40-year-old women, well, you're going to get a mix of young professional women who are really busy. You're going to get a mix of women who are pre and post pregnancy. And you're going to get a mix of women who are starting to get worried about osteoporosis and issues with menopause. And so what you can do is you can build programs based on that. So you can say, okay, well, this program is perfect for busy professional moms. This is my 12-week busy professional mom program, level 1. And included in that program, you have a couple different options. You should always have 3 options. And option 1 is 1 session a week. Option 2 is 2 sessions a week. Option 3 is 3 sessions a week, plus nutrition plan, plus a grocery store tour, plus. And the reason why you have 3 options is you always have a really cheap option. You always have a really, really expensive option. Like stupid expensive. Like if you're talking $50 and $200, then you want to have a $1,000 option. And what the $1,000 option does is 2 things. It because there's no precedent for pricing when it comes to personal training, you set the precedent. So when you say, okay, well, these services are $1,000, what you're saying is most people are probably going to buy your middle package. But if you just had the $50 and the $200 package, most people are going to buy your cheaper one. So it's a way of upselling them. In addition, there's some people who are always going to buy your most expensive package. So you should always have it. You know, like you should always offer extras like grocery store tours, like, okay, well, you get my ebook of healthy shake recipes, which is $40. I mean, you should always have that stuff that you can kind of sell. And you can develop these programs. So you could have a level 1, 2, 3, 4, let's say, of young professional training. You could have a pre-pregnancy program, which from trimester 1 to trimester 3 tailors off. You know, 1 session in trimester 1 goes up to 3 sessions in the second trimester because women can train harder in the second trimester, and then goes down to 30-minute sessions in trimester 3, up until, let's say, 2 weeks before birth or whatever it is. And you sell that as a package. You don't sell that as training. Post-pregnancy is the same way. We start, we start whatever it is. I think it's 60 days is the limit. I don't actually remember what the numbers were, but you start 60 days afterwards and, get back into your fitness right away. And you have a package for that. And then you have a premenopause package. You have a stave off osteoporosis package. And when you're selling these packages, you can work a lot more with pricing, and you can charge a lot more premiums than you would ever charge with sessions, because you're selling a package for X amount of dollars as opposed to a session for 100. What it also does is it says to these people, well, you get 2 sessions a week, and you've got to use those 2 sessions in a week. You are allowed 1 vacation within the 12-week session where you can take those 2 sessions and put them somewhere else if you're going away, but it's 2 sessions a week, so you stop getting into that issue where people are, okay, well, I'll pay you next week, but can I still train today? And you're constantly chasing after people for money to pay them for, or to pay you for a single session. Right. Everything's paid up front. Okay. Or everything's paid in installments.
Oh, awesome. Oh, moving on now. Let's get to the nuts and bolts of the online world. Social media I wanted to talk about. So,
oh, God.
You have your book coming, or viral, stumbling over my own words here. You did have a book coming out. It was going to be based on this, right?
So excited!
Yes. Viral-nomics, I believe you put that on the back burner, right? But that was going to deal with social media, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's get into social media, and there's so much white noise that you can put up there, status updates, tweets, and photos and stuff. How do you make something white noise, or actually make something a virus that spreads?
Oh man, wow, this is a loaded question. There's a number of ways to do it. In the fitness industry, it's actually really, really easy. You just write a post about CrossFit and talk about how fucking stupid it is, and people are going to share it. Or talk about 5 more reasons why women should lift weights, and people are going to share it. Right. But it obviously, I mean, I've looked in much deeper to why these things happen. The first thing is you have to develop your network. One of my favorite quotes is by a guy named Neil Stevenson, and it's, wired people should know something about wires. And I use the analogy of, you go to the hardware store, you buy a whole bunch of wires, you toss them on the ground, you connect one of them to a little ignition, you flick the switch. Well, you might get a little bit of a flicker, and then it's not going to go anywhere. If you go to the hardware store and you learn how to connect those wires from one to the next, well, you're going to flick the switch and it's going to turn on the light. And so just putting up a Facebook page, just putting up a Twitter account, or whatever other social media software you have, it really doesn't matter, and just blasting shit out there does absolutely nothing, no matter how good your stuff is. You need to take the time to really build your network, and in building your network, there's a number of components to it. Number one is identifying what I call the sea lions, and this is another system that I put together called the sea lion system, and these are the people who connect the roads that build a industry. And I spoke about this in Race to the Top quite a bit, where you have the influencers who post a status update, And there's this flurry of activity, like a bubble feed. If you've ever watched whales bubble feed, there's just this insane flurry of activity. And on the outside of that activity, there are these sea lions who just kind of hang out, and they pick up all the fish, and they do none of the work, and they get all the benefits. Well, the exact same thing happens. You have all of these people, after there's an influencer who shared a status update, who are just rampant sharers and likers and commenters. And you want all those people on your side, because those are the people who connect and who share information online. There's still, I mean, the masses of the population is still not comfortable sharing stuff online, so you want to find the people who are. So that's one way. The other way is to obviously connect with influencers and try to get them to share your stuff, but really just support, like, give as much as you possibly can. Be one of those sharers, commenters. If somebody writes a good blog post, send them a message saying thank you. If I find out that somebody has shared an article of mine in a group, for example, I found out yesterday somebody sent me a message saying, oh, by the way, the head of my group, they have a Facebook page like 50 trainers, the head of my group shared the PTDC, talked about how great it was. Well, I didn't know who the person was that owned the group, but I sent them a message saying thank you and offered to send them a book. So the second anything like that happens, you got to be on it, and you have to really foster in that relationship. Once you've built the network, it then becomes a matter of understanding what elicits a share and what doesn't. And what elicits a share is emotion. And there's a researcher out at the Wharton School of Business actually coming out with a book called Contagion pretty soon, but brilliant stuff. His name's Jonah Berger. And all of his research has shown that emotion drives action, which is nothing new, but online that's kind of taken to a whole nother level. So if you look at the V in Vironomics, it's got 2 points to it, and there's kind of branches and very distinct patterns coming off of both sides. And that's supposed to signify a positive and negative reaction to an article, to a status update, to whatever. And so when you write a status update, the big mistake that most people do is they sit on the fence. You know, they say, CrossFit's fucking stupid, but it has some redeeming factors. Here are the redeeming factors, because they're worried that they're going to get haters, because you do get haters. Whereas if you actually wanted that blog post or that status update or microblog or whatever it is to share, you would say, CrossFit's fucking stupid. Here's why. Here are all of my points saying CrossFit's fucking stupid. And what you're going to get off of this one point is you're going to get people who are going to react positively or negatively to it. Because if somebody cares enough to argue something online, their mind's made up. Like, you're not going to convince anybody anything writing online. There's a concept called cognitive dissonance, which just says that if somebody cares enough to argue and you argue with them, you're going to push them more towards their point, because it's a protective mechanism. So you're going to get people who are going to say, yeah, CrossFit's awesome. This guy's an idiot. Hey, everybody, look at how much this guy's an idiot, and share the content. You're also going to get people who are going to say, I agree with this guy, CrossFit's fucking stupid, and share it. And then on each point, you're going to get positives and negatives. And as a result, your material is going to spread. And what a lot of people don't understand about social media, and what a lot of people do wrong about blogs, what like 99.9% of the people do wrong about blogs, is they try to educate. I mean, social media and blogs are a means to attract an audience so that you can sell them your premium materials and educate them with those. You're not trying to educate people with blogs, because nobody goes to blogs to be educated. People go to blogs to be entertained. People go to blogs to essentially learn or hear again what they already know, or call somebody a fucking idiot. I mean, really, there's both of the sides of the coin.
Right.
And the only reason that the author of a blog should be writing that blog post is to generate an audience that believes that that author is an expert. And once that author has been considered the expert, will people ideally buy their higher valued materials, which could be books, ebooks, coaching programs, admission to conferences, whatever it is. And it's at that point where you say, yeah, everybody, you know where I said that CrossFit is fucking stupid. Well, I still don't think that CrossFit is the best thing in the world, but there are some very good CrossFit coaches out there, and here are some really good points about CrossFit. But if you say that in a micro post, or if you say that in a blog post, it's never going to spread.
Okay. Awesome.
So those are kind of the two main points: is the network and is eliciting emotion, positive emotion, negative emotion, sadness, can be very powerful as well. I mean, we saw that in Coney. Something that really like makes people angry and sad is good. Any kind of apathy is terrible. You never want apathy.
Okay. All right, so you might have noticed a skip there. We had a little computer difficulty, so we're going to retrace our steps back, and we're going to deal with a question of dealing with if a trainer who is not worried about promoting themselves online as far as developing an online training and going from there like we were talking about, but wishes to still use social media to their advantage to develop their offline business, how do you recommend them going about that?
Sure. Social media is really just a very good way of letting everybody know that you're a personal trainer. I mean, people, like I said, don't really go online to be educated, and you don't really need to educate them, but you need to let them know that when they're ready to hire a personal trainer, you're the one that they hire. Because you don't, like, even if you could convince people to hire a trainer when they're not ready for it, you don't really want to train that type of client. But you want the clients, when they're ready to hire somebody and when they're ready to commit to a trainer, you want them contacting you first. So the easiest way to do that on social media, on Facebook, is just like write a very simple tip of the day. And it's the most unprofound thing. It's just every day at the same time. I mean, it could be like 8 a.m., it could be 10 p.m., it doesn't even matter. You're just writing Kyle's awesome personal trainer tip of the day, whatever it is. Drink 8 glasses of water today because water is good for for A, B, and C reasons. Here's a good way to incorporate more water into your diet. Bring a water bottle and a checklist, and then every time you finish a water bottle, you put a check mark next to it, and when you're 4 check marks, you're done for the day. Whatever it is. And all that you're doing with this little tip is you're just telling people that you're a fitness expert. And at the bottom of that tip, you just have a very soft call to action that just says, if you ever have any questions about health and fitness or nutrition, be sure to send me a message. I'm here to help anytime. And when somebody does send you a message, I mean, stay up to 2 a.m. that night and answer it if you have to. But all that you're doing with these little tips is just keeping yourself at the top of their mind so that anytime they need a trainer, anytime somebody that they know needs a trainer, you're the first person that they call.
Top of mind awareness. Awesome. Love it. All right, so let's finish this thing up. You wanted to talk about web branding coaching program that you're going to be releasing soon. So go ahead and introduce us to it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, some people know that I actually came to Hawaii originally to write Vironomics, to write a book about social media, and I've decided after hating every word of the book that I'm not going to do it as a book, but I'm going to be launching that as a blog once we get some software up and running. For the past 2 months, though, myself and Lucas Pellin, who's my intern, who's going to be coming on in a much fuller capacity once this program starts, have been putting together a full coaching program for anybody. I mean, not just personal trainers, because to be honest, I have people who are outside of the fitness world already in it. For anybody who wants to develop an online brand and wants to either use that online brand to monetize different ways online, and everything is specific to the person, or drive traffic to their offline brand. So things like the YouTube technique that we spoke before. I mean, there's one person, for example, who we're actually doing a mix. I'm running a beta version of the program right now, and we're doing a combined strategy with him, where he has 2 gyms and is opening up a 3rd gym offline, but he also wants to develop an online brand. So we're actually building a series of Facebook pages and YouTube accounts and email lists and everything, and just plugging it all together. So that his online brand makes money online, selling products online, but also goes to his offline brand. We're doing a whole bunch of local search engine optimization through his websites, through YouTube, to drive traffic to his offline gyms as well. And so I'm going to be rolling this out in about 2 more weeks. Like I said, I've been running a beta group through the program already, and the results have just been uncanny. Really, just wild how well these people are doing. And all that I'm finishing up right now is just ironing out the kinks, just making sure that everything runs smoothly before I open up the floodgates, and finishing up documentation. So the way that the program's working, if you're interested in it, is I ask for a minimum 3-month commitment, and we'll put the link below this video, but I ask for a minimum 3-month commitment, and you fill out a form, and if I decide that I think that I can help you, that we're a good match, I'll shoot you more information on the pricing and on finding phone call, where you tell me everything that you possibly can about your business and your dreams and aspirations. I go back then, and in a maximum of 2 weeks, probably less than that, I do a full audit of your site and any social media sites and anything that you have, and I develop a 12-week game plan for you. We hook up for another phone call. We go over the whole 12-week game plan, the vision, make sure we're on the same page. And then again, within a week after that, I start sending you 2-week blocks. So every 2 weeks on a Monday morning, you get all of your jobs to do for those 2 weeks. Describes what you need to do. And we do that every 2 weeks for 12 weeks. And at the 6-week mark, we hook up for a phone call, just again to catch our breath and make sure we're on the same page. And the idea behind this is that I figured out over working with a whole bunch of different consulting clients one-on-one is that the biggest issue is people just didn't know where to start. Like, people had these ideas what they wanted to build, but there's thousands of pieces of software, there's thousands of gurus promising, the world. And where do you start? Some of the stuff is good, some of the stuff is bad, some of the stuff doesn't matter. So all that I'm doing is I'm saying, this is exactly what you need at this point in time. This is how we're going to build from the bottom up. This is the final vision. This is how you're going to make money from it. This is how it's going to allow you to take a step back maybe from your offline business and move to Hawaii for 6 months in the winter to run an online business. If that's what your dream is, or maybe this is how you build your offline businesses. And it's just going to be a very slow build all the way up, where your job each week, because most of the people that I work with are trainers who are busy, each week your job is to finish these exact tasks. Write 5 auto-response emails. Do this for your Facebook page, film 4 YouTube videos and SEO them like this, and I send you full documentation on every system and exactly what you need to do. So I'm really excited to run out this program. Already there's 15 people on the waiting list for it, but we'll put a link below if you want to get on the waiting list, because this video will probably be out before the actual program comes out. And we'll put a link to just fill out the web form for more information, and anybody who's interested can get in touch with me. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention, there's unlimited email support as well.
Oh, awesome. Awesome.
Along those 2 weeks.
Well, perfect. John, I want to thank you again for teasing us with Hawaii there and coming on the show. It was awesome. A lot of awesome info that I believe is going to help a lot of people out.
Cool.
So, well, that's all we had today for the show, everyone. I want to thank you for tuning in. Again, this is Jon Goodman from the PDTC.com. And as well as mightytrainer.com as well, another little side project, right? And
yeah, we've got some fun stuff. We've got Mighty Trainer. There's Vironomics. I don't know. There's fitness ebook reviews. There's some fun ones, but awesome. The main ones are PTDC and Vironomics. Yeah.
Well, they will definitely be linked up below this video if you're interested in checking out these sites, and also for checking out and applying for his coaching program. So, everyone, thank you for tuning in. John, thank you for stopping by. And until next time, this is another episode of the Art of Physical Fitness Show, and I will talk to you soon.